Mic check, 1 2 1 2. Cool. I'm about to say whenever you say you're ready.
Okay.
Yep, whenever you're ready, bro. Oh, okay, cool.
You got that real minute off.
Yeah, it's that season.
Get hot.
Yeah.
I like
Cool. We got 8 mics on. Let's see. Might. Well, good morning, fellas. Appreciate you all for joining us this morning. Huge credit to 4 Black Men for allowing me to come speak to you all. I never take that lightly, no matter how big or small the group is. There's something everyone can get out of this. I think this type of conversation is super important because the reality of it is people in our communities have never been taught financial literacy or education. I was telling some folks here, I grew up right in the Southern World, right around the corner. Outside of me going to St. Augustine High School and me having a father that's in the investment business with me as well, outside of that, I would have never known about things that I teach, our clients today and help our people with, right? So as we go into this, I would say don't take this information lightly. Let's look at it as a way we can do implementation. Everyone always like to talk about knowledge is power, and I truly disagree. It's not knowledge that's power, it's the application of that knowledge. And one of the biggest issues that I'm going to talk about as well too is that people in our communities don't really have people that they can go out and reach and touch that can help them. But let's start off with this. I'm going to start with talking about my personal story, how I got started here in finance. Then we're going to go a little bit through what I call the X's and O's of becoming wealthy. We're going to talk about the 6 keys to wealth accumulation, 6 basic steps that can get you and build your foundation so that way you can build upon becoming financially literate. Then we're going to talk about the 3 D's of investing. understanding what's right for you and where you're at. And the third thing, the last one we're going to cover, is the 3 phases of investing, right? Knowing which area you're going to be in. Because one of the biggest frustrations that I see clients make is that they think they got to use the same thing for every duration of their life, and that's not how investing goes, right? So I've been in the industry now for 11 years. I got started at the age of 23. I'm 34 now. At the time, I was a college student. I graduated from Nicholls State University in Thibodaux, Louisiana, so an hour south of here. I was getting a bachelor's in allied health science. I wanted to work in the medical profession. But I was tired and burnt out of school. Anybody went to school and been burnt out? I was burnt out. I was getting ready to graduate, didn't really have a path that I really wanted to do to really, use my degree. I was going to have to get a master's or a doctoral degree. I was burnt out of school, really didn't want to do that. I was working retail management at the time, working about 38 hours a week full time. Getting ready to graduate. So I was stuck between a rock and a hard place, just trying to figure out what was next for me, that a lot of our people just go through college and kind of have to figure that out. And so I was just stuck. Didn't really know what was next. Ended up deciding to take a leap of faith and go into business with my father. My father at the time had been in the advisory business for 30 years, now 40 years. He's literally, I really haven't met too many African-American men outside of him that have worked in the advisory business that long here. But I knew growing up that as an African-American man, you can work in financial services, make 6 figures, have a great lifestyle, because I saw him do it. I knew what he did, what could work and was successful. I just didn't think it was for me. To be honest, growing up, I thought, the investment and insurance world was for older people, right? That was older people's business, older people's career, but didn't realize that it could be such a benefit to people in our age brackets, and that's when I got started. So I was 23 when I got started, and I've been here 11 years now. And one of the things and joys that I truly, enjoy is being able to do meetings and conversations like this, because, like I said, the reality of it is our people don't have help. You can go through your whole life, elementary, middle school, high school, college, not once are you given a financial education. You're taught to go get a paycheck, but no one gives you instructions when you get the check, right? So if you don't know what to do with it, you'll just be trying to spin your wheels and going around in circles, and you don't really end up getting anywhere. And so that's the large portion of why it's important to have an advisor. That way you can kind of miss those pitfalls, right? But let's dive deep into it. Let's open up that first packet called Back to Basics, right? This is going to go over just some basic information on how we can make sure that we're building a foundation. I'm going to talk through some of it. Some of it is not going to be 100% on point. This is not on here, but one of the first keys to building wealth, gentlemen, is to pay yourself first, okay? We've all been consumers. We make money, we spend it. We make it, we spend it, we make it, spend it. Some of the biggest issues that can be made in your financial destination or journey is the idea that you're going to save and invest on the back end. Right? You ever try to pay bills first and say, man, I'm going to save and I'm going to invest after I finish? What generally happens? It's not really a whole lot left over, right? Well, you got to pay yourself first on the front end. Before you go shopping, before you go out to eat, before you take a vacation, and before you pay your cell phone bill, man, you need to put 10 to maybe, if possibly 20% of your income away for those type of situations like emergencies, retirement, things like that. Because anytime you try to save on the back end, it's going to be very challenging for you, okay? That's the first principle. Let's go into talking about a debt cycle versus cash cycle, right? One of the things that to be very detrimental to your finances is accumulating a whole lot of debt, right? You're outspending your income, you're borrowing to maintain a lifestyle, and you're paying off one debt and incurring another, right? What's some revolving debts that'll really hurt you? Credit card debt, right? Man, credit card debt is all-time high, especially, I don't know if y'all bought anything online. You can do things like Affirm and everything like that. Man, you can get in debt for buying $100 pair of sneakers, right? And it's crazy to see how things have transformed, but that only lets you know that they created because there's a market. They didn't do it just for any reason. They did it because they saw that, hey, man, there's a market there for people because they don't have the money to buy their day-to-day things that they want to do, right? We're not talking about they're putting on credit to go buy a $2,000 sofa. We're talking about, man, they buying stuff off Shein and doing Affirm, right? And so, you want to make sure you're not a debt cycle. Make sure you're in a cash cycle. You want to be debt-free, man. One of the best things that you can do is becoming financially debt-free. Right? How do we do that? Making sure we pay things. If you use credit cards, pay them off. You know, if you buy a car, man, see, you know, one of the things that I was very hard on myself was paying off my car as fast as I could, right? Things like that, right? Paying with cash instead of borrowing. Man, I'm a stickler for, man, if I can pay use my debit card for it without having to go in debt, without having to use a credit card, outside of maybe getting some points, but if I do, I'll pay it right back. But you want to make sure you don't just fall in that trap, right? Invest savings and assets. We're going to talk about what some things you should invest in, how you should save, some key points on that, right? All right, here's a potential solution. How to invest. Pay yourself first. We just talked about that. Eliminate debt and then protect your income and show your income until you build financial independence. We're going to talk a little about that in a second. All right. So let's go to page 2. Right. How to invest. Pay yourself first. Right. We talked about that. But there are 3 fundamental accounts that every person should have. This is one of the 6 keys to wealth building. The first one that you need is an emergency account. Man, fellas, I cannot stress this enough. You're going to have an emergency before you retire. You're going to have an emergency before you accumulate money to buy your first home or buy another vehicle, right? Just for example, man, this morning as I'm coming here, man, I get in my car and my tire pressure's on like 10. Right, so when I'm done, I gotta go handle that. But because I saved and put away for emergencies, I don't have to think about, man, I'm gonna have to get a new tire. That might cost me $200. I don't have to think twice about it because I know I have the funds to do it because I saved just in case, well, not just in case, but when something happens, right? So 50% of your money, as you see at the bottom, should be in some type of emergency account. You need to get to the point where you have 3 to 6 months of your income set aside just when something happens. Because the last thing you want to do is go borrow money from a friend, mom, dad, go to a cash payday loan, right? Which unfortunately there's a bunch of them in our neighborhoods, and you don't want to fall in that trap, right? So 50% of your money should be in some type of emergency account, okay? Second is a short-term account. I call it your lifestyle account. Right. That's if you want to make a purchase in the next, I think, 5 to 7 years. So let's say you want to buy a new car, purchase your first home, things like that. You want to save for that. That's 25% of your money where it should be. And the last one is your wealth building accounts. I call this when you want to save and invest for retirement. These are accounts that are going to take 20, 25, 30, 35 years to build. One of the things that I stress to people all day long, man, building wealth is not an overnight process. Thankfully, we are on the information age with social media and technology. And it's very, very often people come to me, they want to talk about investments, and they think investments are overnight. They think investing is get rich quick. It's get rich, but it's not get rich quick. It is a over time process. It takes a lot of discipline, a lot of wherewithal to make sure that, hey, look, you stay the course as long as it takes. But building wealth is going to be important here. Here we hold things like retirement, right? If you have young kids, we do college funds. That's building wealth as well too. Because one of the biggest things as well too is when kids go to college and they got to get student loan debt. Anybody here has student loan debt, right? And student loan debt, it's high, right? It costs, right? And so imagine if you have kids and want to have kids, what the price of education will be in 17, 18 years from now, right? Imagine what you paid. Things are only going to get higher. There's nothing in our life that we've been young kids to now adults that's gotten cheaper. Everything is going up, so education is going to go up, right? So we can plan for those things, making sure that kids, when they go to college, they don't have to get all that student loan debt, okay? Let's go to page 3 at the bottom where it says, talks about the wealth building account concept, right? So one of the things that's important, and I stress as well too, is understanding that building wealth, like I said, is not an overnight process. The fundamental aspect of building wealth starts with not how much money that I have to start off with. I think a kind of misconception for folks is thinking, man, I got to have 400, 500, 600 available extra dollars a month to invest. And that's not really how it is, man. You can build wealth with just doing $100, $150 a month, man. I spend that on a night going out. More than that sometimes. I'm sure we all have, right? It does not take a whole lot to build the foundation. It just takes a lot of discipline, right? So in your early years, you don't really have a whole lot of money accumulated yet, right? You don't have $500,000, $1 million in assets just yet. So until you own your wealth through investments, I teach clients you got to rent your wealth using life insurance, right? We're going to talk about life insurance in a minute, but life insurance is the fundamental concept to make sure you can cement and build your wealth on top of that, right? Because in your later years, as you invest, as you see kind of in this page, right? Once you get to retirement, you're going to need income coming in. Well, until you build that income, well, if you got a family and things like that, well, how do we make sure that we protect our income? Because your income is the most valuable thing that you have, right? It's not the car, it's not the house, it's your ability to go out and to produce income. Let's say, for example, if you had a toaster, right? And every month that toaster like clockwork popped up $6,000 every month like clockwork. Would you protect, would you insure it? Yeah, you would. You better make sure this toaster keep on working, right? You're the toaster. You got to make sure you protect your income. You do that by using life insurance, all right? Let's go to the next page, okay? Asset allocation at work. This is going to be huge as well because this talks about how your portfolio, when you start to build one, should look, and depending on what your objective is. Let's just go ahead and talk about 3 phases of investing because this ties into that. The first phase of investing is called the accumulation phase, all right? That's where everyone starts at, and unfortunately, that's where a lot of people get out at because it's the longest, it's the toughest, it takes the most discipline. The accumulation phase is for you to build wealth. And building wealth, like I said, gentlemen, is a 20, 25, 30, 35 year, depending on your age, process, okay? Your whole thought process is accumulation. So really, when we talk about the accumulation phase, your allocation should be a lot of stocks, not a whole lot of bonds, not a whole lot of commodities or cash, which some of these show. These are more conservative examples, but your whole allocation needs to be heavily stock or equity invested. Probably 80 to 90% is what I'm talking about, okay? Now, if we transition to the second phase of investing, which is the protection phase, right? That's when clients can start to get more conservative. But if you're 25, 30, 35, even 40, that's not your time to be conservative just yet, right? Because you're still building wealth, right? Generally, we reserve those time periods for folks that are maybe 55, 60, approaching retirement. Why? Because you built this nest egg of money. You've got, $500,000 in a 401k, an IRA, $1 million, whatever the case may be. So you need to protect it, right? You don't want to lose it, right? So then you start being more conservative. You can start adding some more bonds, some more commodities, some more cash reserves into your portfolio and being less risk averse and having as much equities or stocks. And then the third phase is the distribution phase. The distribution phase is really important because who wants to run out of money during retirement? I know I wouldn't, right? How do we make sure that we only take at least 4 to 5% of our principal so we don't run out of it, right? Because let's be honest, the life expectancy today of men is about 79, 80, could be 81, right? If you retire at 60, statistics say you really only have about 21 years, right? So that money's got to last 21 years. How do we make sure that we don't run out of it? Because the last thing you want to do is you got kids, grandkids, you got to call them, hey man, can I borrow $100? Right? Some kids you raised, right? Who wants to do that? Nobody wants to do that, right? So we have to make sure that we go through those different, and you're all going to go through them, right? If you're investing properly, to make sure that each phase works differently, right? One of the key components that's going to be very key in that first phase, in that accumulation phase, is mutual funds. Have you guys heard of mutual funds, right? I believe there is an example, give me 1 second, on one of these pages that we're going to go over. Yep, turn to page 10 for me, all right? Mutual funds is a great way to accumulate wealth because it allows you to have diversification, okay? Diversification, gentlemen, is going to be very key when it comes down to investing because you never want to have all your eggs in one basket. Let me give you guys an example. I'm 34. When I was a kid, if you wanted a toy, what store did you have to go to? Toys R Us, all right? Now, in the 90s, Toys R Us was a booming store. It was booming, right? If you took $10,000, $15,000 and put in Toys R Us stock in the 90s, you're probably doing pretty well, right? But let's say that was the only company You invested in because at the time Toys R Us was booming. Well, what happened to Toys R Us today? Pretty much out of business. They're trying to make a comeback, but they filed bankruptcy, had to close down, and everything like that. What happens to your money if that's the only company and the only industry you're in? Well, you're going to lose out. The power of a mutual fund is it has diversification because there's a pool of assets that's divided into different companies or sectors of business. So how a mutual fund works is, let's say we all have $200. Jude, you got 200, 200, 200, 200, 200, I got 200. We pull our assets together and we pass it on to professional money managers. These money managers take that money and they invest in the global economy in different companies like Apple, Microsoft, Walmart, Nike, Adidas, Exxon, Chevron, Chase, Capital One, Tesla, Google, NVIDIA, Eli Lilly. So all these other companies that are out there, you get to have a little bit of them all, right? So you're not too heavily weighed in one sector. So a mutual fund uses between 75 to 100 different companies on average, right? So that way you might have some money in healthcare, you're gonna have some money in technology, you're gonna have some money in pharmaceuticals, some money in real estate, some money in semiconductors. It just depends, but that allows you to be diversified so your money is not just sitting in one area. Okay? And diversification is going to be very key to building wealth over that time period. Okay? That's a good question. Based on, I was just about to get to, let's go back to page 7 real quick. And this is going to answer Brother Polo's question, right? Based upon what your financial objective is, those portfolio managers, they're going to pick the stocks or companies that are advantageous for what it's designed for, okay? Let's look at the bottom where it says aggressive growth portfolio, okay? Remember when I told you that's gonna be probably 75%, well really it's like 95% stocks, 75% US, 25% non-US, right? So they're gonna be invested in companies that are more growth oriented. Like, so let's take, as I sit here and think of a growth mutual fund, it's heavily invested in probably technology, right? So our NVIDIAs, let's do semiconductors. So that's the chips that go in the phones. So anything that you think technology based is probably going to be a little bit more aggressive because it's a growing industry, right? So to answer your question, no, you don't get to pick the actual companies, but what the importance of having an advisor is like for me, I would be able to sit there, identify what your objective is, you know, what do you want to achieve? And depending on what you tell me, that's the type of fund that will be suitable for you, right? And as you can see, as we go from the different types of portfolios, from conservative growth to moderate to growth, the stock versus bond and cash changes, right? And as you grow older in your life, those things should change because your needs today are not going to be your needs at 55, 60, right? Remember, right now, your whole objective is to grow wealth. Well, to grow wealth, you can't be conservative. It's going to take you a lot longer to do it, right? It's going to take you a hell of a lot longer, right? So your mindset's got to be a lot more growth oriented in this pivotal moment, right? And that's to show you and give you an idea of what that looks like, okay? Anything else on here? Nope, nothing else on here. I forgot to pass this other brochure out. We're going to go over some of this stuff real quick. So this is going to cover the 3 Ds of investing. Okay. So we already talked about what a mutual fund is, right? At the bottom of this first page, this is important to understand, the rule of 72. Okay, the rule of 72 is one of the other 6 keys to wealth accumulation that I talk about. And what this rule teaches us is how long it's going to take for $1 to make me another dollar. All right. Let's say, for example, if we walked into a bank and we want to open up a savings account, the bank is usually going to give you less than a point on a savings account, right? Let's say half of a point, 0.5, right? If all you got to do to learn how the rule of 72 works is you take whatever interest rate that you're getting, you divide into 72, and that's how long it's going to take for your money to double in value, all right? So if we only had, even at 1% over 48 years, well, that's not a whole lot of accumulation that's going to happen, right? So let's look at these examples. If we took 10 grand, right, for example 1, and invested at 3%, that money takes 24 years to double once. At the end of 48 years, you're only left with $40,000. That's not a whole lot of money after 48 years, which will show you even worse why you shouldn't save a whole lot of money at the bank, right? Use the bank for emergencies, for a savings account, but that's not to help you accumulate wealth, right? It's not designed for that. Let's look if we did 6%, a little bit better. That 10 grand now doubles every 12 years. A little faster. At the end of 48, left with 160,000. A little bit better, but at 9%, Darren, that 10 grand doubles every every 8 years. At the end of 48 years, left with $640,000. Now, if you could pick one of the three, gentlemen, which one would you want for yourself? The 9%, right? And guess what? It's at your disposal. It's not out of your reach. You really could get 12%. This honestly being conservative at 9%, right? And so if you have the option to, why not? The challenge is that our people have been taught where to get it. And you get that type of return by using mutual funds, right? Mutual funds can give you the allocation that can give you between a 9 to a 12% rate of return on your money, right? So if we're going to invest for the long haul, we want to make sure it grows as fast as it can, right? And we're going to do that using mutual funds. Right, now let's go to this page where it talks about the 3 Ds, okay? So the first one is diversification. Right? Diversification is going to be important. We just talked about the importance of that because you don't want to be in one sector of business. Okay? You want to make sure that your eggs aren't in one basket. You got a little here, got a little here, got a little here. Okay? The second one is very important, and that's discipline. Discipline is key because remember, this takes time. People think I deal with numbers and I do mathematical equations all day. I don't do hardly any of that. I got a computer, I type a number in, it tells me and spits it out. You know what I deal with? I manage client behavior. I really feel like I'm a psychologist because what part of my job is to do is to keep people from jumping off the ledge, right? Because when you hear about the war in Iran, you hear about tariffs, you hear about President Trump, you hear about all these other things that go on and your money's tied to it and you're emotional. And you will say, man, I should probably pull my money out because I don't know what the market's going to do. It's my job to be the logical voice in your ear to say, no, remember what the game plan is. We're doing this for the long term. What's happening in a year or 2 years is not really overall going to affect your overall portfolio, what we're looking to do long term, right? Because clients make decisions emotionally, right? It's your money. And you're emotional about your money. I'm emotional about my money, so I understand, right? But it's my job as an advisor to help clients be logical. And discipline is important because throughout your years, there are things that are going to happen, right? There's several times I sit down with clients. We draw out this plan. We figure out what their needs are. We figure out what their budget is, right? And everything sounds good. And then a year goes by. And then, man, something happens. Right, whatever it can be, and they say, "Man, I gotta step. I gotta pause my retirement for a little bit. I gotta do this. I gotta do that." Right, and unfortunately, the discipline stops. Now, even though you go through these life challenges and changes, man, you gotta remember what the goal is. Right, so being disciplined is very important. And number 3 is dollar cost averaging. Let's go to page 8. Has a great example of dollar cost averaging. Okay. Dollar cost averaging basically is an investment strategy that allows you to take advantages of the swings in the market, the highs and the lows, right? Let me ask you guys a question. Do you think you should only invest when the market is up? No. Should you only invest when the market is down? No. You need to be doing both. It's very commonplace that people think, man, the market's up. This is the best time to do it. Well, that's not always the truth, right? Because when the market is down, guess what happens? You're buying shares on discount, right? So, for example, man, I love to shop. I don't know about you guys. I love to shop. One of my favorite stores is Dillard's. One of my favorite brands is Polo Ralph Lauren, okay? If I went into Dillard's and I wanted to buy a polo that was $100, okay, and I only had a $100 bill, how many polos can I get with that? I probably really can't get one because of taxes, but I can get one, right? But if Dillard's has a sale where that polo was $25 and I still got my $100 bill, well, how many can I get then, right? It's a difference because it's on discount. So when the market goes down, that's a perfect time to run to it, not run away, because now I have the ability to get those same NVIDIA stock, the same Apple, the same Microsoft, the same Alphabet stock for less, And so why not buy as much of it while I can, while it's on sale? Because guess what? It's eventually going to go up. And when it goes up, because I have a bigger share amount, because I bought at a lower value, my share price goes up, my account value goes up. That's how you get account growth, right? But dollar cost averaging is a strategy that you invest on a monthly interval, right? Whether the market's up or down. Because guess what? I can't predict when the market's going to be up or down. You can't predict when the market's going to be up or down. The portfolio managers, Trump, nobody can predict it, right? So the best way to do is to stay active in it, and that's by doing dollar cost averaging and investing on a monthly basis, right? Because it allows, like for example, right? Let's take the green shares alphabet A. So number of shares accumulated is only 42 because that person only invested in those 6 months when the market was high, right? The average cost per share was $14.19. But investor B did when the market was fluctuating, okay? The number of shares they accumulated was 126 because the average cost per share was $4.76, right? You need to look at the number of shares that you accumulate, and that's important, right? But you do that through dollar cost averaging, okay? Anything else we want to highlight on this? No, that's really going to be it on that. I do want to go over some statistics real quick with you all, and I forgot to do that on the front end. But this is going to be key to understanding. This is why what we need in our community as far as advising is important. If we take a look at comparisons from white households to African-American households, the average retirement balance for a white household is $164,000, while ours is only $80,000, okay? The median household net worth of a white household is between $188,000 and $219,000. The median black household net worth is only between $24,000 and $28,000. And soon to be projected to be zero. Okay? That's a huge gap. Okay? White families have 68% more retirement accounts than African Americans. Okay? Now, one of the ways that we can help do that is through life insurance, right? Not just investment, but life insurance. Life insurance is like a taboo conversation in our communities because people think, oh, that doesn't benefit me, it benefits the people that leave behind. But getting life insurance generates an immediate estate. Okay, for example, if you have a parent that has $1 million policy on them and you're the beneficiary, they pass away, do you know you get a $1 million check immediately? Tax-free, by the way. You don't pay taxes on life insurance proceeds. That can create wealth instantaneous, okay? There's a reason why, if you look today, people weren't in droves selling life insurance in the black community. If you look at, white households, another statistic is that they have 46% of insured African Americans say they're underinsured from comparison to white households because, that was the wrong statistic. Yeah, 46% of insured Black Americans say they're underinsured. A big reason by that is that we also want to talk about life insurance in comparison to how much we need, okay? Many Caucasian households probably have a difference. We're talking about $500,000 worth of life insurance coverage between us and them, right? So remember, life insurance creates what? An immediate estate, right? So if we don't sell insurance to black households and they pass away and they don't create an immediate estate, well, guess what? That's money that doesn't come into their communities, right? We're not going to teach them about investments. We're not going to teach them how to take that money that they get from those life insurance proceeds, their income, and invest that over time period, right? So if we don't learn these financial tools or principles, then we're going to continually be held back, right? And so life insurance is a great way, and it is the fundamental way to build generational wealth. One of the issues and challenges is that we don't understand how much we need. So here's a good rule of thumb. Generally, you need about 10 times what you make in life insurance coverage, Okay, so if someone's making $50,000 a year, and there's some other factors. If they marry, got kids, have a home, those things factor into that. But a good rule of thumb is 10 times what you make. Because if somebody makes $50,000 a year, they're generally about $500,000 worth of life insurance. Because look, if something happens, your income can be replaced for a couple of years, right? So let's say, for example, we have a husband and wife. We can call them John and Mary, right? You know what? Let's use this. This is great. Uh-oh. There we go. Cool. Thank you, brother. Let's see. Yeah. Husband and wife. John and Mary. And they have 2 kids. All right. Let's say John makes $75,000. Mary makes $75,000. Their combined household income is $150,000. But let's say John only has got $100K of life insurance, which is not a lot. Let's say Mary's got $100K. Okay. John passes away though, unfortunately. His income's $75,000. Mary needs both the incomes, right? John's only got $100,000 life insurance. $20,000 is going to go to a funeral. So they're left with only $80,000 left. How long is that $80,000 going to last? If that, right? So when I say we need more coverage than what you actually believe, trust and believe. Because if John had $1 million, well, things are different. She can maintain the standard of living. She didn't have to get rid of the mortgage. She didn't have to get credit card debt. The kids and the wife can maintain their standard of living, right? So life insurance is going to be a huge component to making sure that while you're in the process of building wealth, of investing, hey, if something falls short, I have this $1 million policy, right? My plan is to accumulate $1 million in the next 25, 30 years, okay? That's the goal. But if I fall short, something happens to me premature, because we all know our birth date, we don't know our death date, right? If something happens, this income can make sure we replace that, right? Because if I don't have income to invest, at least you have income that will be replaced with a life insurance policy. And so life insurance is going to be a huge fundamental factor to making sure that you submit and build on top of that. All right. Fellas, do you have any questions for me? And I'd like to have open dialogue if you guys would like. What you got? Okay. 401k policy.
Would it be better to invest more into those or personal, private policies?
Good question. Good question. You should take employer-sponsored programs. 401ks, you definitely need them because they're going to give you a match, right? On average, it's between 3 to 5%. They may say, hey, look, we'll match up 5% of your income, whatever the case may be. You need to take that, right? If they're going to give you life insurance, they're going to give you little to nothing, they're going to give you a coverage for little or nothing every 2 weeks, take it. I would not, now for life insurance, I would not put a whole lot of money spending on employer-sponsored life insurance, because generally what happens is when you leave that employer, that insurance stops, right? So you need to have your own investments outside of your job and your own life insurance. Another packet that I have right there is called Roth IRAs, right? One of the things that's important to you building wealth, gentlemen, is going to be investing into a Roth IRA. This is what every, I think, American that is in the income level, because there's an income restriction for investing in Roth IRAs. But excuse me, if you fit in that income level, you need to be investing this outside of your job. Here's why: your 401k in your job is pre-tax, right? Pre-tax account. That means at whatever you invest into, once you get to retirement age, which is 59 and a half, let's call it 60, you have to pay taxes. So let's say if you got $500,000, depending on your federal tax bracket at the time, that $500,000 is not what you get. You're gonna get like 400, 380, something like that, okay? Now, that's a big chunk of your money. But investing into a Roth IRA outside of your job allows you to accumulate money tax-free. And we want as much tax-free money for retirement as possible, okay? Now, the most that you can put to a Roth IRA currently, which it goes up probably every other year, is $7,500 for the year, which equates to about $625 a month, which is the max that you can put into that. But if you maxed out your Roth IRA for the next 30 years, and let's say average 12%, that's like around like $2 to $3 million that you can have tax-free. That's a lot of money, right? You guys know the average car payment today is like $700 a month. So it would cost you less to accumulate a couple million in a Roth IRA than it would to go buy a used car. We ain't talking about a brand new car, a used vehicle today, right? So to answer your question, you should do both. You should take the 401k providers plans. You should do the life insurance. I wouldn't put a whole lot of money into it, but you definitely should have your own programs outside of that, because the second you leave that employer, those benefits generally stop. Yeah. Get a question? Yeah.
So for the life insurance, I think you said, typically we die about like, let's say 80 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Can I get life insurance at like 79 and set my family?
It'll be very challenging. It'll be very challenging because life insurance is going to be based off a couple things. It's based off of now sex. So generally when I do life insurance for males or females, females generally cost, their premiums are usually lower because they have a longer life expectancy, okay? So because you're male, it's going to be higher. Your age at that point is going to make it higher. And then depending on what type of health issues that you have, it's probably going to be higher, okay? So generally, life insurance is two ways you can do the life insurance game. One, if you just want to look at it as for my primary needs, making sure I have enough coverage just in case whenever something happens, my income can be replaced. But if you want to play a generational wealth game, that's a whole different conversation, right? Making sure you get $1 million, $2 million at a certain age, which will last you through a certain age range duration, right? Trying to get it at 79 is too late. That's something you got to probably get, in your 30s or 40s that could last you throughout that duration. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What you got?
So I recently dropped from low life premiums for life insurance policy because I felt like I was too young and I already had insurance and life insurance policies through my job.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be better for me to wait until I get a little older to go back and invest into a private insurance?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. Now's the best time. Because how old are you, by the way?
25.
You're 25, okay? Do you know when you could possibly be sick? No, you don't know that, right? You're healthy today, you're young today, right? Remember, the older you get, the more it costs. While you're healthy, see, life insurance is all about when you're healthy, and it's very inverse to thought process on like car insurance. The older you get, they give you a smaller premium, right? But the younger you are with life insurance, they give you a younger premium. The older you get, they give you a higher premium. So if you want the same, let's say $300,000 of coverage today, the 25-year-old young man might only cost you $55. But waiting to age 30, it might cost you $75, okay? For the same coverage. So if you're gonna do it anyway, might as well do it while you're young, healthy, while it's pretty much guaranteed it's gonna be as most inexpensive benefit to you. Yep. What you got?
At 29, I got a life insurance policy.
Mm-hmm.
It was like $75,000 for like $17 a month, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
At 30, I was diagnosed with kidney failure.
Mm-hmm.
Had I applied for life insurance when I wouldn't have got approved.
You wouldn't have got approved, yep.
So it was interesting that I got it when I got it because I have it now.
Right.
But if I was
Waited.
6 months later, like,
Yeah, it's better to be 15 minutes too early than 5 seconds too late. I see it all the time. I see countless amounts of, especially it really happens more so in the older generation. People wait till they're in their 50s, mid 50s, close to 60s. They're getting ready to retire or at the age, and now they want to start looking at life insurance. But at this point, man, you got high blood pressure, you got diabetes, you didn't had maybe a stroke once, you on these type of medications, and now because you see it's real, you want to hurry up and try to speed this process up and try to get what you can get. Well, it's gonna be very challenging for you at that point. Life insurance is something that you have to get when you don't necessarily need it, because the second you feel like you need it, it's too late already. The second you try to get it when you think now is time, it's probably too late for you, because something didn't happen. That's really what it is. I ain't gonna lie, when I get calls from people in certain age ranges, my first question is, what's wrong with you? Because it's the reality, and it's got to be real. There's no point in sugarcoating it. What's wrong? Oh, I got this happened. We can insure you. I can't guarantee it. We can go through the process of underwriting and see. And sometimes I just got to be honest. Look, I'm not going to be able to insure you. It's not going to work. There may be some other options, but you probably won't be be able to get insured with. And that's just the reality of what we deal with, right? And so that's a huge factor of making sure that our people can get insured at an early age. Because guess what, man? Look, if we take a look at all these deaths that happen, these killings, and which is unfortunate, man. What if those parents had insurance policies on those kids? Right, man, it's unfortunate what happens, but the money that can be turned over, right, to those parents, which can start the process of building wealth, man, I promise you, killings wouldn't happen as much. Because the regulators would say, man, we don't want to keep paying out these death benefits, so we got to make sure they start staying alive, right? Which it's a whole ripple down effect. I don't want to go down. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole with y'all today. But it's a whole rippling effect. But if the black community had, and which we do have, but if we all woke up more to the understanding that we have real financial power in our communities, if we just learned some of this information, took it and applied it, I mean, it'd be game over. A lot of things that we see today would not happen in our communities. Because if you have financial power, they can't hold you back as a people. The only reason that we are able to be held back is we don't have the financial power yet. I believe it's coming. It's going to take some time. It's going to take conversations like this. It's going to take meetings like this, whether they're small or big, to get the information out there to especially people in our age ranges, because we're going to be those seniors in 30 years, right? And we can take that information and pass those on generationally. So that change can happen. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some work, but I think it is to come. Yep. Yeah, what you got, Jude? Let me grab this water real quick. I'm sorry. What you got, brother?
So in these times of inflation, how often should we be rebalancing portfolios, like selling off stocks, maybe?
Good question. It depends on what your financial objective is. It's a vague question. I hate to give a vague answer, but it depends on what you're investing for, right? If you said, hey, look, I'm investing for the short term, the next 3 to 5, 7 years, then you probably want to make some change depending on what you're trying to do, trying to invest in, or trying to, purchase or whatever, or save and invest for. But like I said, if we're investing for retirement, you got 30 years, man, you need to keep doing what you're doing. You don't need to change anything. If you're in a growth portfolio, you want to stay in that growth portfolio. You don't want to just take out because something happened in the market or something happens politically, because the market doesn't care about politics. The market doesn't care if the president's a Republican, a Democrat, doesn't care if we're at war. It's going to do what it's going to do, right? And the last thing that you want to do is take out when you think something happens, because you can't predict when it's going to shoot up. Some of my clients made some of their biggest returns during COVID, right? When we're in a worldwide pandemic, unfortunately, people are passing away, people are losing their jobs. But my clients, and thankfully they listen to me, they trust me, which I truly appreciate, they stay in the market and they benefited from returns in that time period, right? And that's what's the important part, right? Remembering what your financial objective is. But as well, too, like I said, man, if you don't have an advisor to call on to ask those questions, you'll make an emotional decision. One of the things that I talk to clients about is like doing self-directed investments versus having an advisor. So let's say, for example, like you can go to a company like maybe Fidelity or Charles Schwab, and do like a self-directed IRA, something like that, right? I actually had a client that I met with this week she just became my client. She was about to open up an IRA at what's the name of that bank? I'm drawing a blank. It's the Army Bank. I can't remember. Navy Federal. There we go. Navy Federal. She's about to open up IRA there. And she was like, what would be the difference between me doing an IRA in Navy Federal and me doing it with you? I said, great question. Here's the answer. I like to give a NASCAR theory, okay? If we took myself and we put me in the Indy 500, you give me the fastest NASCAR that they have. I'm talking about the fastest one. And you put me in the driver's seat, what is my chances of winning that race even though I got the fastest car? This is my first time driving NASCAR, by the way, what's my chances of winning? Less than that, right? Even though I have the right vehicle, I'm not the right what? Driver. So I told her, I said, okay, great. You just can go buy yourself a NASCAR 500, the fastest one, but guess what? You're not the right what? Driver. Because guess what? When things get a little shaky, you're going to make an emotional decision, like I would if I was driving that car. I'm going to get a little nervous. I'm going to hit the brakes. I'm going to swerve a little bit. I might crash and burn because I'm not the right driver. But when you have an advisor, guess what? You get the right vehicle with the right driver, you pair them together to win. Why? Because I'm going to help you not make the emotional decision, right? When things get shaky, you need somebody to call, I can help you with that. You do that, open that account at that financial institution, more than likely they're going to send you to a 1-800 number with someone that does not know what you're going through, does not know you as a person, doesn't have any relationship with you. And how would you feel trying to explain what's going on and get your question and they can't really answer you, right? You want that personable touch, that personable feeling to say, hey, I have someone that I can call and ask these questions and get the answers that I need. And that's a huge difference, and there's value in that, right? Than doing it self-directed. I can, for example, I had another client who had a Charles Schwab account, which is a phenomenal company, nothing against them. But she had a IRA with them, and she walked into the Charles Schwab office and asked to speak with someone. They told them, hey, we don't do in-person appointments here. You have to do everything online. And I said to her, why do you think they have that big old building and they tell you that you can't come in there and sit with anybody? They don't do meetings. You think they don't? They only told you that because you don't have the minimum that they need. So they're going to make you do everything you're on your own, and in hopes that you build this account value. Then they'll say, hey, you want to come in for a meeting? You want to come take a look at some things after you didn't got what they wanted out of you, right? And so nobody wants to have that feeling. Everybody wants help, right? When you get sick, you go to a doctor, right? When you need law advice, you call a what? A lawyer. When we need financial advice, you need to have an advisor. You need to take that same approach when it comes down to your finances, because that trickles down to everything, right? Any other questions? No? Cool. Okay, any questions? No? Anybody?
I was thinking, so like, when it comes to retirement, having like debt in retirement, you don't want to be paying off like a house or something or a car. Like, what's the best mindset of like knowing when you want to retire and knowing when to have like all your assets paid off?
It's a good question. Okay. Let's talk about something called a FIN number. Financial independence number is what it is for short. Okay. And what this is the amount of money that you need to acquire in your lifetime to basically retire. Everybody's FIN number is going to be different based on their income. Okay, somebody's making $100,000 a year, FIN number is going to be different from somebody's making $200,000 or $50,000, right? But whatever it is, you need to identify that, and I help my clients do that, figure out what their number is that they need to acquire, right? Now, that is going to change throughout your lifetime, right? Today, you may be making 75, but 10, 15 years from now, you may be making 150, right? This is something that's going to change constantly. This is not a one-time situation. Right? This is something that you got to go back and revisit, just like going to a doctor. You don't go see a doctor one time at 30 and say, oh, I'm done. That's it. No, why? Because you go through different changes. Your body goes through different changes. Your lifestyle is going to go through different changes, right? So identifying your FIN number helps you determine, well, how much money do I need? Okay? Because there are a couple things that are going to affect your money once you get to retirement. One of them is taxes. Can't get around beating them. Another one is inflation. Another one is medical cost. Taxes can't beat it. Inflation is going to go up. The things that you have today, the gallon of milk that we buy today, the gas, the tires for the car, everything's going to go up. Which is why, as well, too, you can't save money long term at a savings account in the bank. It's not advantageous to you. Okay? Medical costs are going to be huge. Now, today you're healthy, right? But things could change. Brother Darren just talked about age 30, he was diagnosed with kidney failure, right? His medical costs as how old are you today, 34? 35. 35, it might not be that much, we don't, but as he gets older, that's something that he's got to keep constantly feeding because that's just the reality, right? And so what we need to be able to do is account for that, right? And so these are three things that will eat up through your investment if you don't take those seriously, right? So how do we get around taxes a little bit? Roth IRAs, right? Tax-free money, right? Tax-free accumulation, okay? It'll lessen what you have to pay in taxes. Can't beat inflation, or you can beat inflation, but you do that through investing in mutual funds, growth funds. That's why achieving something like 9, 10, 11, 12% rate of return on your money is important, right? Versus just saving at the bank, okay? And medical costs go up with inflation, so we beat that with investing long term throughout that. Yeah. You had a question? Another one? Yeah.
It was about the life insurance policy for kids. So I'm 25. I don't have any plans to have kids right now.
Okay.
But say by 30, I do have kids. Would it be better to go ahead and get life insurance policies on them?
Yeah.
Expecting things to be whatever.
Yeah, you definitely should, because unfortunately, children pass away too, bro. They are not free from death. And so they can be child riders on your policy. Like, let's say, for example, you could have a policy, let's say if you're 30, you got a young daughter or son, you can add them to your current policy that you have, right? But yes, you should. I tell my clients, the second you have a child, call me. We need to add them because they're no different from you. They can pass away. And then you think, well, they're a child. We don't need to replace their income. Yes, you don't have income replaced, but your child just died.
Yeah.
You got to pay for a funeral. Do you want to go back to work immediately? You're emotionally distressed. You might want to take some time off, right? So you might have, just the reality, you might have some extra money just to worry about yourself, right? I know me and you talked about dealing with your mental and things like that. That's important, right? That's stress, right? But if you don't have the extra availability to do that, you gotta go clock back and work and you're trying to grieve at the same time, and that's rough, right? So yeah, you definitely should, 100%, no doubt about it. Yeah, question? Yeah.
When it comes down to like getting a mutual fund or an IRA, like does it matter? I don't want to say like throw a rock in this land on a company, but do you recommend like go with these particular companies, or does it really matter?
And trying to decide what type.
Just to like get the ball rolling, like to start to get the mutual fund rolling and to get like an RA rolling.
Gotcha. I'm gonna be honest with you. You start with me. That's first off. Let me just say it. But granted, if someone just let's say if you didn't want to do have an advisor. Some people don't. Some people want to do it on their own. Companies like Fidelity will allow you to do that. Vanguard, even Charles Schwab. Sometimes Chase will, right? If you just want to just test the waters out and see. There's no, and I tell people, look. As an advisor with Primerica Financial Services, if you went to me or an advisor at Edward Jones or Charles Schwab, Merrill Lynch, we all do the same thing, brother. There's nothing new under the sun. The only thing different is what type of minimums they may or may not have. But the important thing is to find out what type of relationship do you want to build, because that's what it boils down to. So saying which company has better mutual funds, man, they all do the same thing, bro. The IRA is a Roth IRA with me and a Roth IRA at another company is still a Roth IRA, right? So to say which mutual fund is better, it's all about what your objective is. Now you do have to worry about that. You could be in a conservative mutual fund or a conservative fund, but you have a growth mindset. You're not doing what's advantageous, what you're trying to do, right? But to say which fund is better than this one, it's no real difference. It's all about just kind of what personality you want to deal with or what connection you want to make with that advisor. That's the important thing. Yeah, what you got, Darren?
What's the cost of financial advisor?
Okay, that's a good question. Like for me, I am just saying I'm commission based. My clients don't pay me a fee, right? Some advisors do charge a fee. It varies, which is why some of them may have higher minimums, like 150, 250, and they may charge you a percentage for their time. It just depends. It depends on how deep you get into it. I've seen just for it's called a we can make these plans called a financial. It's basically a financial plan, essentially what it is, where we can take a look at your life insurance needs, retirement, all this type of stuff, debt elimination, and it's like a packet, right? Some advisors may charge $500 just for the packet, just to make a packet for you, right? It just depends. It depends on where you go, which is why some people think it may cost a whole lot. There are companies, and one, I'm just being honest, with Primerica is a great company because it allows us to deal with the middle class market of people, the everyday working Americans that has an extra $100, right? Where you would be left out at some of these big brokerage firms that wouldn't take you for that, right? They, and then if you did have the money, they'd charge you an incredible amount to sit down with them. Now, they probably do a fantastic job, but it's gonna cost you, right? So I hate to give a vague answer, but it also, it depends on where you go. Yeah. Any other questions, man? But man, I'd like to say, bro, you guys have been great, man. I love the questions. I love the interest to learn and soak up knowledge. And like I said, it's these type of meetings which is important, right? Darren, man, I appreciate you for putting this together. Thank you, brother. And collaborating. I hope we can do another one and have even more people and go over the same type of stuff because it's repetition is the motherhood of learning, right? You hear it one time doesn't mean it's going to just always stick. This is something that's got to happen over and over and over and over and over again. I didn't learn all this information the first time I heard it, right? It took me repetition to learn, read, study, present, go over that to get comfortable to even and have the confidence enough to even sit in front of you guys and talk, right? Last thing I'm gonna go over, there's a survey sheet on the table. And if you enjoyed anything about this conversation, if you want to learn more, want to have a one-on-one meeting with me, fill that out for me. Leave it with me. I'll give you a call. We can schedule up a one-on-one to see if I can help you with your needs or whatever, and kind of go from there. What you got, brother?
Take clients in from Louisiana?
I do not. I take them. I can be licensed in multiple different states. I'm licensed in multiple states already. Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas, Michigan, Mississippi, Alabama. Huh? Yep. You live in Alabama?
Yeah.
Okay. What part of Alabama?
Montebello.
Okay. All right. Are you from New Orleans?
Yeah.
Okay. You just came in town for the weekend?
Yeah, I'm with family.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Nah, man. We can get you covered, brother. Yep. Cool. I got some pens too. I'm sorry. I forgot. I got pens too. My bad. I forgot to put those on the table. There you go. There you go, fellas. Yeah, my bad, dog. It didn't even look. It didn't even hit me for us. It took a little second to hit me. You don't have to put your address. I know it says address on that. You don't have to put the address. Really just first name, last name, email, phone number, age at the bottom, good time to talk, and just check whatever on that you may be interested in. Yep. Thank you, brother. Yes, sir. What you got? Okay, cool.
Good job, bro.
No, thank you, man. Can you do like a picture with everybody too? Yeah. Yeah, like a group photo. Yeah. How long you been living in Alabama for, bro?
17, 18 years.
Oh, you've been there for, yeah, that's right.
We moved right after Katrina.
Oh, gotcha. Cool. Yep. Cool, thank you, brother. Thank you, Mike. Damn, I got your information already. Yeah, I thought I was like, Jude, I got yours too. Yeah, and I appreciate it too, man. Yeah, bro. Yeah, man. Yeah, no, I appreciate it, bro. I appreciate it. Fellas, if we can take a group photo real quick, I appreciate it, man. However, I don't. You gonna direct. Come on in, brother. Too. When you get, yeah, come on, man. Yeah. Appreciate it, fellas. Yeah, man. Thank you. No, appreciate it. I appreciate you, bro. It was nice meeting you, my brother. You as well, too. Yeah, of course. Thank you for coming, bro. Jude.
Of course, bro.
Yeah, man. You
This
stay
is
safe
awesome.
on the
Yeah,
road,
I
bro.
will.
Yeah, definitely.
Appreciate you.
Of course.
Jake, I got your. I know we got it. You got my email.
Yeah,
You got my number as well.
I do. I know it's in my.
Okay.
I know it's in my calendar. Let me double check.
Oh, that's right. 'Cause I think I did attach that when you sent the Zoom info. Should be fine.
Yep.
That's me. That's me.
Definitely, bro. No, man. Yeah, of course, bro.
Tell Kev stay out of trouble.
I know. I will. I'm gonna see him tomorrow, brother. With Chad, man, for sure. I'm about to say I got your mic on still. Yep.
Don't forget, I was watching on live. Oh, we got two viewers too. I really just do this to get the content.
Yeah, no, of course.
So
yeah,
that
I figured, yeah.
I don't gotta store it.
Yeah, same way. How long you had your company for now?
Founded the company in 2021. I was still in graduate school.